When you pick up a passion like photography, which has so many categories you can get into, for example, landscape, wildlife, abstract, fashion, the more you shoot and try different things, the quicker you'll figure out what really lights a fire in your soul. Hopefully along the way, you'll have different sources of inspiration that continuously inspire you. One of those sources for many is traveling. It can be amazing for your creativity and pushing yourself to try new things. For example, you could be a pianist whose favorite genre is classical, but a 2-week trip to Cuba got you hooked on exploring the world of salsa piano. Traveling can often put you in a state of mind where you're open to do things you normally wouldn't even consider. I even did a stand-up comedy set about this.
But you see, what I love the most about traveling and vacation is that you get into this whole state of mind. Like you open up your horizons and you're like, God damn, I'm gonna do something I normally don't do.
Anyhow, a trip to Tokyo with a stranger and fellow creative Adam, aka Flambo, definitely served as a huge inspiration for me to really enjoy nighttime photography, something I had never even really cared for back home in Sweden. If this is the first time you came across my channel, I would definitely check out part 1 of this series, which will give you the backstory to this trip to Tokyo with a stranger.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Captain. I do hope you had a pleasant flight through the night. We have started descent towards Tokyo Narita.
So we arrived in Tokyo in the morning, and despite the fact that Adam barely slept on the flight, the excitement of being in Tokyo for the first time overpowered his tiredness, and he was already up and just like filming away. We arrive in our pod hotel in Ebisu. And if you're unfamiliar with pod hotels, aka Capsule Hotels, these are, well, hotels with individual capsules as accommodation instead of rooms. They're historically popular among Japanese businessmen. We chose to stay at a Capsule Hotel because it's one of the must-dos when in Japan. It's also one of the cheapest forms of accommodation, and we were just being, well, cheap. You don't get much space, and the bed is kind of hard, but in general, it was still pretty comfortable and pretty cozy. Later that evening, we were planning to meet my friend Miwako. She was an exchange student in Sweden back when I was in university. We had planned to meet Miwako in Shibuya, which is the infamous Shibuya crossing, biggest crossing in the world. I can't remember, a couple thousand people crossed at the same time. So we ended up roaming around this Shibuya area looking for a place to eat. The cool thing about Tokyo is that you just get this big city vibe, but you'll come across people and things that you just don't see anywhere else in the world. There was this guy with a top hat and a mask, and I just thought, wow, he's super cool. So I just had to take the opportunity to shoot him.
Hi.
So on our way, while we're heading to another restaurant, I'm walking by this taxi driver who just happened to be the hippest and grooviest taxi driver I had ever seen. And he could not stop laughing and giggling while I was shooting. Unfortunately, we didn't capture the behind the scenes of this photo, but this guy was just gold. I mean, look at that outfit and the afro. We had been walking around for quite some time and we couldn't find a restaurant, and I started to feel really bad for Adam because at this point the guy had barely slept in more than 24 hours, and we were all super hungry. So we had decided to just go for a simple ramen place. Even the simple, cheap ramen places are so delicious. After we ate, Muwako told us that we were gonna meet up with her friends and they were celebrating one of the girls' birthday. On our way to the meetup, we just did more shooting, and these are the cool people that I came across.
So if you haven't noticed by now, my favorite thing to shoot are strangers I meet when I travel. I guess it helps when you're not a shy person, but even I can hesitate to approach someone sometimes. For the most part, people are flattered that you want to take their photo, and the best part is to hear their story if you're able to communicate. During my time in Tokyo, I met several people my age who had always dreamt of moving to Tokyo, and they were realizing their dream. Tokyo is one of those cities that captures people's minds through movies and photos. The nighttime neon colors from the buildings and signs make the city glow late into the night. I can see why people compare Shibuya to Times Square in New York. Even though this was my second time in Tokyo, it still felt new and exciting enough for me to be shooting things I don't normally even care for. Like, I would never have cared to shoot a taxi driving downtown in Stockholm, but I found Tokyo's taxis so colorful and the neons made them shine even extra bright.
After a long day of shooting and filming, we had decided we're gonna enjoy ourselves. So here we are, we meet up with Miwako's friends, and we end up going to this club.
So at this point, Adam had locked his cameras away because one, they didn't have any battery, and they were big and he just didn't want to drag them around anymore. He was done for the night. But for me, I just kept my camera on me, so I just continued to capture our night. It was really cool to see Adam let loose for the first time and to see this wild side of him. This made me really happy because I felt like he was starting to get really comfortable around me, and we were starting to really get to know each other, even just after one day.
Yeah, well, that was a long ass night.
So Adam and I ended up getting into a bit of a mess, which almost ended up with him not getting back his camera gear. You'll have to wait until the next episode to find out more. Until then, if you've enjoyed this video, give it a like and subscribe for more travel, street photography, and music adventures. And follow me on Instagram. Peace!